Good morning everyone. I'm Dr. B. Pranavi Sai, Senior Resident, Department of Ophthalmology, Sri Siddhartha Medical College. This week from March 8th to 14th marks World Glaucoma Week, which aims in raise awareness on glaucoma, which is very important as glaucoma causes irreversible blindness and it is silent thief of sight. So let us start our lecture on this note. So today we'll discuss on primary open angle glaucoma, its clinical features, pathophysiology and briefly on management. The duration of the lecture is 30 minutes. So now when we discuss on glaucoma, first we know what is glaucoma. Glaucoma is multifactorial chronic progressive optic neuropathy which is characteristic optic nerve head changes and corresponding visual field defects with an IOP determination to the optic nerve head. Now what that means? So glaucoma is chronic progressive optic neuropathy. What is happening here? The ganglion cells is going apoptosis and going death, and it corresponds to the visual field defects with optic nerve head changes. In glaucoma, the variable factor is IOP. There can be raised IOP or there can be normal IOP. So now coming to the classification of glaucoma. Primary congenital glaucoma without associated anomalies. Example is trabeculogenesis. Developmental glaucoma with associated abnormalities such as aniridia. Primary adult glaucomas, when we take primary open angle glaucoma, primary angle closure glaucoma, primary mixed mechanism glaucoma. In primary mixed mechanism glaucoma, we have both open angle and closed angle. Coming to the secondary glaucomas. In secondary glaucomas, again we have open angle glaucomas and closed angle glaucomas. Now this is pigmentary glaucoma. So what is the pigmentary glaucoma? Because of the concavity of the cornea, what will happen? The iris will rub over the zonules and it will causes release of the pigments. These pigments deposits on the endothelium of the cornea. Here you can note it, these are pigments over the corneal endothelium known as Krukenberg spindles. Because of loss of endothelial pigment, these are transillumination defects seen in the iris. These two features are seen in pigmentary glaucoma. Now pseudo-exfoliation glaucoma. This is grayish white fibrogranular deposit over the pupillary margin. This is made up of glycosaminoglycans and protein deposits. Next, steroid-induced glaucoma. In steroid-induced glaucoma, the patients who are taking corticosteroids, there will be raised IOP. Lens-induced glaucoma. Again now coming to the lens-induced glaucoma, we have phacolytic glaucoma, phacoanaphylactic glaucoma and lens particle glaucoma. Intraocular tumors and hemorrhages. All these conditions will causes open angle secondary glaucoma. Now closed angle glaucoma. Closed angle glaucoma, chronic uveitis. What will happen in uveitis? There is lot of cells and flare which causes obstruction in the trabecular meshwork and inflammation in the trabecular meshwork that leads to the raised in IOP. Neovascular glaucoma. Neovascular glaucoma, what is happening here? Neovascularization of iris, neovascularization of angle is noted. It is most commonly seen in which condition? Diabetic mellitus. We can see in ocular ischemic conditions and we can also see in central retinal vein occlusion. Then iridocorneal endothelial syndrome. What is happening? Abnormal endothelial cells here, they will progress into the angle structure, causes closure of the iridocorneal angle. Then aqueous misdirection syndrome. In trauma or in after cataract surgery, what will happen? Generally, our aqueous produces by the non-pigment ciliary epithelium of ciliary body. In the posterior chamber, it should direct to the anterior chamber through the pupil. But in aqueous misdirected syndrome, instead of going anteriorly through the pupil into anterior chamber, our aqueous is misdirected posteriorly into the vitreous body. So it is called aqueous misdirected syndrome. Now coming to the dimensions of anterior chamber. What is anterior chamber? Anterior chamber marks from the posterior surface of the cornea to the anterior surface of the iris. The area present between the cornea and the anterior surface of the iris is anterior chamber. Now what is the volume of the anterior chamber? It is 0.25 ml. What is the depth? Centrally it is 2.5 mm. In Anterior chamber is shallower in hypermetropes and deeper in myopes. What is the diameter, average diameter of the anterior chamber? It is 11.3 to 12.4 mm. Average we can take 11.7 mm. Now coming to the structures of angle of anterior chamber. So we take structure of anterior chamber. This is root of iris. After root of iris, what we can see? Root of iris joined to the ciliary body. So there can be ciliary body band. Then the next structure is scleral spur. What is scleral spur? It is the posterior lip of scleral canal. This is scleral canal. The posterior lip of scleral canal is scleral spur. Then we have trabecular meshwork. Two type of trabecular meshwork, anterior trabecular meshwork and posterior trabecular meshwork. Anterior trabecular meshwork is not functional. Only the posterior trabecular meshwork is functional, and it is important to note the trabecular meshwork on gonioscopy to say the angle is open angle. Next we have Schwalbe's line. Schwalbe's line is the continuation of Descemet's membrane of the cornea. Now how will we know the Schwalbe's line on gonioscopy? By corneal wedge. Aqueous humor. What is aqueous humor? Aqueous humor is clear watery fluid filling the anterior chamber. How much? 0.25 ml. Where it is formed? It is formed in the posterior chamber. Then through the pupil, it comes to the anterior chamber. By what? What is secreting aqueous here? Non-pigment ciliary epithelium of ciliary body. Now functions of aqueous humor. It maintains IOP in the eye, provides substrates and removes metabolites from the avascular cornea and lens. It maintains optical transparency. Now aqueous production. As we discussed earlier, how it is the non-pigment cells of the ciliary epithelium creates almost 70% of your aqueous. The other 20 to 30% is secreted by your diffusion from the stroma. So, three secretions. Active secretion by non-pigment epithelium of ciliary body. Ultrafiltration is 20% and diffusion is 10%. Now, aqueous drainage. How the fluid that produced in the ciliary body, how it travels and it drainage. Now, let us see. Aqueous humor flows from the posterior chamber to anterior chamber through pupil and gets drained by two pathways. Again, trabecular pathway, uveoscleral pathway. Trabecular pathway is the conventional pathway. 90% of the aqueous is drained through the trabecular meshwork. And uveoscleral pathway, that is the unconventional pathway, 10% of aqueous is drained here. So, you have seen here, this is the trabecular meshwork. So, trabecular meshwork, our aqueous flows through the trabecular meshwork. It enters into the Schlemm's canal, then it goes to the collector channels, then it goes to the episcleral veins. We have three parts of trabecular meshwork. What are those three parts? Uveal part, corneoscleral part and juxtacanaliculaar part. This juxtacanaliculaar part is the narrowest part of the trabecular meshwork. So, trabecular meshwork has three parts. It is uveal meshwork, corneoscleral meshwork and corneal meshwork. Here juxtacanaliculaar part is the narrowest part of the trabecular meshwork and it gives the greater resistance to the aqueous outflow. So, how it is draining? Ciliary process, aqueous in the posterior chamber enters the anterior chamber. From anterior chamber, it goes to the trabecular meshwork, Schlemm's canal, collector channels, episcleral veins. The unconventional pathway, how it is going? From ciliary body, the fluid aqueous enters into the subchoroidal space. From subchoroidal space, it enters into the venous circulation. So, now we will discuss about primary open angle glaucoma. Primary open angle glaucoma is type of glaucoma where there is no obvious systemic or ocular cause of raised intraocular pressure. It is also known as chronic simple glaucoma of adult onset. What is happening in glaucoma? There is optic nerve head changes, IOP can be raised or IOP can be normal and there is visual field defects, and on gonioscopy there should be open angles. In primary open angle glaucoma, the difference is IOP should be greater than 21 mm Hg. Only will consider that, then it is as primary open angle glaucoma along with visual field changes, along with optic disc cupping. Now, etiopathogenesis. What is the risk factors of developing primary open angle glaucoma? Obviously, we know raised intraocular pressure is the major risk factor. Why? It causes two things in the eye. Raised IOP, it will cause mechanical pressure over the optic disc. That's why there is increased cupping of the optic disc. Then second thing is vascular theory. Here, ocular perfusion pressure decreases because of raised IOP. So, eye goes into hypoperfusion. Then what will happen? Again, there can be due death by apoptosis. Now, family history. Generally, in siblings are greatly affected by history of glaucoma in the family. Then 4% risk in the offsprings. Then the genes associated in the family. Myosin, optineurin, WD repeat domain 36. Age. So, old age is high risk of developing primary open angle glaucoma above 50 years. Why they are developing open angle glaucoma above 50 years? In above 50 years, what will happen? Your extracellular matrix get deposited by lot of debris as age increases. That will cause greater resistance to aqueous outflow. So, there is risk of developing primary open angle glaucoma. Then race. So, black race people have 4 times increase in development of primary open angle glaucoma as the release of pigments is more in black race people. And myopes. In myopia, what will happen? The sclera is very thin and stretching of the sclera is more on the, so there will be lot of pressure on the optic disc stretching. So what will happen then? Again, there will be glial tissue death. It can't withstand, the thin sclera withstand the raised IOP. So again, myopes are greater risk. Now central corneal thickness. Generally, the low central corneal thickness, that is less than 555 microns of central corneal thickness, lower central corneal thickness, what it will cause? It will cause measurement mistake in the calculation of IOP. That will give false. So, central corneal thickness less than 555 micrometers will give false depiction of IOP measurement. So, there will be falsely noted IOP will increase the risk of glaucoma. Diabetes. In diabetes, there will be high risk of glaucoma. Cigarette smoking, high blood pressure, thyrotoxicosis and corticosteroid responsiveness. All these are indirectly responsible for raised intraocular pressure. That's why it will, or risk factors for primary open angle glaucoma. Pathogenesis of raised intraocular pressure. So, how intraocular pressure raises? Thickening and sclerosis of trabecular meshwork with faulty collagenous deposits, narrowing of intratrabecular spaces, deposition of amorphous material in just juxtacanalicular space. As we discussed earlier, this is the narrowest space in the trabecular meshwork. It will get deposited by amorphous material. So, the trabecular meshwork will become narrow and it will cause greater resistance to the aqueous outflow and collapse of Schlemm's canal. Clinical features. Now, what symptoms patients present to you with glaucoma is headache and ocular pain. Because why they are having ocular pain? They'll accommodate more. That's why they have more of ocular pain. Difficulty in reading and close work, delayed dark adaptation, scotoma, significant loss of vision, blindness in the end of untreated cases of primary open angle glaucoma. So, here rods are more affected. That's why they have delayed dark adaptation. Anterior segment signs. On slit lamp biomicroscopy, what we'll see in glaucoma? Pupillary reflex becomes sluggish and cornea slow, slight hazy. Why pupillary reflex becomes sluggish? Because on slit lamp biomicroscopy, pupillary reflex become sluggish and cornea show slight haziness. Why cornea is hazy here? Raised IOP will causes corneal edema. How much raised IOP generally causes corneal edema? Above 50 mm Hg of IOP can cause corneal edema. A low central corneal thickness, as we discussed earlier, corneal thickness, if it decreases, it is also risk of glaucoma as the low corneal thickness give false IOP calculation. Intraocular pressure changes. Exaggeration of normal diurnal variation in IOP. So why IOP varies? Because of blood corticosteroid levels. So when blood cortisol levels increases, the IOP increases. When cortisol level decreases, IOP decreases. For that we have to do one test. What is the test? Diurnal variation test. So in glaucoma, during morning IOP increases and night IOP decreases. How much difference it should be to confirm it as glaucoma? There should be at least 8 to 10 mm of Hg diurnal variation test. So morning and evening 10 mm of Hg diurnal variation should be there to confirm it as glaucoma. Normally diurnal variation will be 3 to 6 mm of Hg. Glaucomatous changes in optic disc. In glaucoma, what will happen? The poles, superior pole, inferior pole becomes very thin. That is the first sign we see in. So in glaucoma, the earliest glaucoma changes is there will be vertical cupping. Why cup is vertical? Here the inferior pole and superior pole both are supported by large pores of lamina cribrosa. So when the pressure increases over the glial tissue, there is more chance of nerve affected in the inferior region and superior region. That's why there is oval cupping. First one which is affected in the cup, first inferior pole is affected, then superior thinning of retinal rim, then there will be nasal thinning of retinal rim, then last temporal thinning of retinal rim is observed. Now other changes, how we confirm? Like there is glaucoma in the patient, there will be asymmetry of the cup. So right eye if 0.3 is there and left eye 0.4 is there. The asymmetry is greater than 0.2, which is also indicate that patient is going into glaucoma. So large cup disc ratio. When you see the patient of large cup disc ratio, normal cup disc ratio is 0.3 to 0.4. Now you can ask me, ma'am, if 0.5 is normal, I will say 0.5 cup disc ratio is normal when there is no retinal rim thinning. If my NRR is healthy, then I can say my cup disc ratio of 0.5 is normal without any other glaucomatous changes like nasalization of vessels, lamina cribrosa sign. No finding should be there. Then I can say 0.5 is normal. If any thinning is there, either inferiorly, superiorly, then I can say patient might go into glaucoma. Now splinter hemorrhages. You have seen here, it is generally more commonly seen in inferior temporal region. More commonly the hemorrhage seen on the disc, more commonly observed in normotensive glaucoma patients. Then pallor area of the disc. This is pallor area of the disc. Then atrophy of retinal nerve fiber layer. Retinal nerve fiber layer defects appear as wedge-shaped defects areas arising from the optic nerve head. It is the indicator of glaucomatous damage. Now cup disc ratio. Here we see the cup disc ratio. This is vertical cupping. So normally large cups, how to differentiate large cups from glaucomatous cup? In large cups, the disc is circular. In glaucomatous cup, there is vertical enlargement of the cup. Here also, the disc is showing enlarged cup disc ratio. Then advanced glaucomatous changes. What is here? You are seeing marked cupping. This is 0.7 to 0.8 cupping. So here what is happening? This is total cupping with lamina dot sign, and this is nasal shifting of retinal vessels you see here with broken margins. Then glaucomatous optic atrophy. In glaucomatous optic atrophy, what is happening here? Complete neural tissue is destroyed and optic nerve head appears white and deeply excavated. Now visual field defects. Now what we call visual field? Visual field is island of sight in sea of darkness. That is called visual field. Visual field defects when 40% of axons have undergone apoptosis, then we'll get visual field defect. Visual field defects in glaucoma, how it is seen? Generally it follows horizontal meridian. So visual field defect. The first visual field defect what we see is isopter contraction. What is happening in isopter contraction? First, what is isopter? Isopters are line present in same area of visual field. Every 10 degrees there is line present in the visual field. So these are called isopters. So what will happen? Isopter will constrict from peripheral field. So that is the earliest visual field defect in glaucoma, but it has less diagnostic value because isopter contraction is also seen in other condition. Then bearing of blind spot. So this isopter will get contract and they will leave a blind spot. That is called leaving of blind spot. Now what is blind spot? So blind spot is presence of optic nerve but absence of retinal tissue. There is no glial tissue. It is an hollow space. So there is no glial tissue. So there is no photoreceptor. So it causes physiological scotoma in the visual field. But you will not able to appreciate those scotoma. That is called physiological scotoma or negative scotoma. Now small wing paracentral scotoma. How is small wing paracentral scotoma is there here? So first what we thought of bearing of blind spot, wing shaped paracentral scotoma. Now what will happen? This is blind spot. This is the scotoma in one isopter. This is the sedal shaped. So this is the visually significant field defect that develops in glaucoma. Patient will appreciate this more and it is significant in glaucoma changes. Then what will have? Sedal scotoma. The paracentral scotoma joins the blind spot and it forms sedal scotoma like this. It will join the blind spot. So that is called sedal scotoma. Then we have arcuate scotoma or Jerram scotoma. In arcuate scotoma, what will happen? One complete isopter, there is formation of scotoma. So that is called arcuate scotoma. Why? What is this Jerram's area? In visual field, arrangement of fibers. There will be superior, inferior. Nasal fibers are called superior radiating fibers, inferior radiating fibers. And temporal we call temporal arcuate fiber, inferior arcuate fiber. The arcuate fibers strictly follow the horizontal raphe. They won't cross the horizontal raphe. That's why the glaucoma visual fields, whenever you appreciate, this is the horizontal raphe. It will lie within the horizontal raphe. It won't cross this horizontal raphe. So the Jerram's area is temporal arcuate fibers. When affected, it will cause the Jerram scotoma. Where it lies within 10 to 25 degrees of visual field. Then ring and double arcuate scotoma. What is happened? First there is the formation of arcuate scotoma. Then another, it is not crossing here. You see, this follows strictly horizontal meridian. Now another arcuate scotoma is forming inferiorly from the blind spot. It is called ring or double arcuate scotoma. What is Ronis central nasal strip? See here, this is one arcuate scotoma, this is one arcuate scotoma. Here there is formation of right angle defect because the both arcuate scotoma is difference in size and shape and width. That's why there is right angle defect formation and it is called Ronis nasal step. Then there is peripheral visual field defect. So last what will have? Tubular vision, because lastly which fibers will affect? Here to get tubular vision. So here in visual field, if nasal fibers affects, the visual field defects is seen temporal visual fields. If temporal visual field affects, will get defects in the nasal visual field. So last to be affected is temporal island of vision will have. So nasal fibers are last to affect. Advanced glaucomatous field defects. What is happening here? Gradual spread of defect will come to peripherally and last there is only temporal island of vision is left. So now we have discussed about what is the changes of the glaucoma, what is primary open angle glaucoma, what changes we see in the glaucoma. Now conclusion of this lecture. So what is glaucoma? Glaucoma is multifactorial optic neuropathy which have optic disc changes associated with visual field defects with or without raised intraocular pressure. In primary open angle glaucoma, there is raised intraocular pressure of greater than 21 mm of Hg associated with optic nerve head changes and visual field defects. Now, what angles of angle of anterior chamber we have? We have root of iris, ciliary body band, scleral spur, trabecular meshwork, Schwalbe's line. How will you know the angle of anterior chamber is shallow or deep? By pen torch examination to look for eclipse sign and to Von Herrick grading done on slit lamp. Visual field defects. So what visual field defects we see here in glaucoma? So there is first isopter contraction, bearing of blind spot, small wing shaped paracentral scotoma, then there will be sedal scotoma, then arcuate or Jerram scotoma, then double arcuate scotoma, then Ronis nasal strip and peripheral field defects. So advanced glaucoma stage, what will happen? There is complete atrophy of the optic disc. So there will be large optic cup, complete loss of neuroretinal limb, glial tissue death is attained by apoptosis. So last fibers to affect is temporal fibers or last temporal visual field is last to go in glaucoma. Thank you.